Power Rangers was a pivotal moment for a lot of people.
Power Rangers was a sci-fi, completely unexpected, low-budget pop culture phenomenon.
The premise of the Power Ranger is very basic. It's good always overcomes evil.
It was about 5 kids who put on helmets and spandex.
Teenagers with alter egos, kind of like Superman and Clark Kent.
5 everyday teenagers.
Chosen by our leader Zordon to help battle evil as it inflicted its ravages upon the planet.
Out there in space somewhere is Rita Repulsa, the world's most evil space witch.
Bent on human destruction.
And each week, or maybe 5 times a week, the kids would go out and fight the monsters that Rita Repulsa would send to defeat them.
A giant foam latex creature that looks like something out of Godzilla.
With that basic premise, we created a show that took kids on a ride that they've never been on before.
It took me a while to figure out what it was about too, and I was on the show.
Back in 1984, I was relaxing between 2 meetings in my hotel room in Tokyo, Japan. And there were only 3 stations then in Japan, and they all transmitted Japanese shows. And I didn't understand a word. I still don't understand a word. And on one of them, I all of a sudden saw 5 kids in their superhero costumes jumping around and kicking some monster butt. And I thought, oh, that's a lot of fun. I wonder if we can adapt that format and bring it to the Western world, basically.
At the time, Saban Entertainment was the most prolific producer and distributor of children's programming.
I had an agent who did know this company, Toei Company, the originators, and he contacted them, and we bought our first series then, back in 1984.
We produced a short video piece that kind of illustrated the format and the style and the basic story elements. It was sort of like a mini pilot. It wasn't really meant for broadcast, wasn't really meant for public consumption, but it was meant to convey the look and the feel and the energy of the show.
And we tried to sell it here in the United States, and we got things like, oh, you shouldn't make such a fool out of yourself by offering this kind of product. It is cheesy, it is this, it is that. And every time I would screen it, I would get a real kick out of it. I thought it was really fun.
He was committed and passionate, and as a result, so were we. And after several years, it finally was able to get launched.
Back in 1992, a lady at the Fox Kids Network by the name of Margaret Lesh shared my conviction that this is very unique and with great potential kind of content.
You know who's really responsible for the success of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Margaret's kid, to whom she showed the promo pilot that we shot. And I don't know where you are today, man, but thanks. Margaret Lesh's kid.
Both her management and her team objected to the show, but she believed in it, and she was the only one.
We believed that it was so different that, given the chance, it had the opportunity to be something really big. Or it could miss entirely and we would move on to something else.
So she said to me, look, I know I ordered the show. She then ordered 40 episodes. I'm going to put it on in the summer for 8 weeks. In, out, goodbye. And I said, I'll take what I can get. I've been schlepping it for 8 years, you know.
And it was really her creative courage to go out on a limb and give this show a shot.
So she puts it at 7:30 in the morning, and she then had on the Fox Kid Network a block in the afternoon. With at 4:30, she had Batman, which was a monster hit, the animated version. At 7:30 in the morning, where there are less people watching TV than at 4:30, by week 2, Power Rangers beat Batman. So she very quickly replaced Batman with Power Rangers and put it at 4:30, and it was, at the time, a great lead-in even for the local stations and the news.
We bought a billboard and put it on Sunset Strip, and it had, half the billboard was an illustration of the X-Men, and it said #1 today, and then the other half of the billboard had the images of the Power Rangers. It said #1 tomorrow. And I think that the headline was something along the lines of, the Power Rangers are coming and children's television will never be the same again. And it was kind of bombastic at the time when I think about it, because we were making a claim that our show, which was so different, was going to take over kids' TV. Fortunately, it actually happened.
One of the most important goals was to create characters that kids can relate to. Characters that kids can see themselves as.
He called me one morning and he said he had this idea to do a search, and he wanted me to do the search to find some ethnically diverse talent for a new show. And would I be up for that challenge? And I said, absolutely.
The process was kind of interesting because we were also trying to be very quiet. The casting call went out as a show called Phantoms, rather than Dino Rangers, which is what we were originally going to call the show.
He said, we got to make sure they have martial arts experience and or gymnastics experience. So I said, let's do it.
And we saw, over a week, I think we saw 300 people. And we had them come in and read and jump around and do martial arts.
At the end of the audition process, it broke down to, they had two different casts. They had kind of a tall cast, model-looking cast.
And then the cast that we ended up with, who was what we all wanted, but we had to show Fox some choices, and thank God they made the right choice.
Jason, the Red Ranger. Zach, the Black Ranger. Kimberly, the Pink Ranger. Billy, the Blue Ranger. And Trini, the Yellow Ranger.
We found out that Fox was going to buy the show on the second or third day of shooting the pilot. They'd seen a lot of what we were doing, and so at that point is when we started working on the series, even though we didn't have the contracts and everything yet. Literally, we were on the bowling alley set from the pilot, and Chaim calls all of us together, and he says, okay, Fox wants to do the show, but we can't call it what we wanted to call it, which was Dino Rangers. So we need to come up with a new name. So in about 5 or 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, we're batting around names, and somebody, I think Ellen came up with, well, let's call it Power Rangers. And Chaim went, no, that's not enough. We need a da-dum, the Power Rangers. It needs to be more, you know. And so somebody came up with, I think it might have been Chaim, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So in 10 minutes, we named the show.
It's Morphin time.
Triceratops, Mastodon, Tyrannosaurus, Power Rangers!
Trying to put together the show was a bit of a challenge in that, first of all, me personally, I had never seen a Super Sentai show before, and it kind of looked a bit silly to me. But also, we needed to reconcile the stories, and since they had a lot to do with ancestor worship and spirit monsters and things like that, it really had no analog here in the States, so we decided to make an original story around the footage that we could use.
Those stupid teenagers don't know who they're messing with. Get the putties! It's time! All right, take that!
The other problem was figuring out how to marry the footage together, which was kind of my job at that particular point in time, was kind of figuring out at what point do we switch and how do we write the story around. So we really had to develop a new way of making a television show.
What they would do is get the Japanese footage and edit it and show you the sequence that you were going to use, followed by a blank spot, which was the sequence you were going to shoot, followed by another thing that they shot, so that you had a sort of tapestry.
The first thing that we did, or that I did, was sit down over Christmas. I didn't get a vacation that year. Sit down over Christmas with a video editor, and we went through the first 15 episodes, extracting every bit of footage that we could use. And our mandate was that we needed to make it look like it was not in Japan. So we would take out anything with cars driving on the left side of the street, or anything with kanji or katakana on it, or the Godzilla-type shots with all of the Asian faces running in horror from the monsters. And then kind of categorize them and put them together in little tapes, basically, so that we could hire a team of writers and kind of get to get them that footage so they could write the stories.
There was a time where they kind of brought us all in and they sat us down and they allowed us to see some of the footage from the Japanese version. But we saw the fighting, we saw the morphed characters, and so we understood, oh, okay, so that's what they become and that's what it is.
The directors were always allowed, not just allowed, but strongly encouraged to look at the Japanese footage before they embarked on their own versions of it. It was extremely important, at least we thought it was, to try to tie in locations that we were shooting in LA with locations they shot in Japan. Almost anything worked as a tie-in. The color of a car or the nature of the phone pole in a shot. If you could just tie what you were doing in with the footage that was from Japan, you were on your way. You were doing the right thing.
Fortunately for us in the Japanese, each show had its own basic odd or funny theme monster, and that's how we really kind of worked it out. If it was like Pudgy Pig, we did a story about food, hence the food fight episode, and things like that.
In every script there was a theme, which I thought was wonderful. You know, there was some problem that had to be fixed, and we would start off doing it as the teenagers, you know, working through our problem, and by the end of the show we had found a solution, and it was all about growing up. You know, it's like, okay, you're young, you're trying to figure out your problems, and then you come together as a group and you fix it. You know, it's a community love kind of thing.
What do you say we show a little teamwork and get this place cleaned up?
All right.
There were several writers that I was glad when their material appeared in my hand. Shuki Levy, who was one of the forces behind it, knew really well what the thing was and how to structure it and all of that. A woman named Shell Danielson, Cheryl Saban, and there was another guy, Mark Litton. These are the ones that I remember as being, oh good, here's a Cheryl Saban, she gets it too. And Mark, yeah, he got it. And as I say, they understood it. And when they understood it, it made our lives much easier. Because you're telling a story, it's got to make sense on paper too.
The writers were great because, you know, they would get to know us and kind of write for our characters, and our characters blossomed because of that. It's like, okay, well, these are the traits that shine in Zach, or these are the traits that shine in Jason, and let's play on that. Let's write towards that.
I think people who were writing for the show, they were just so busy. You really didn't get to interact with them. They would just, they were just popping out scripts. I think it's different when you're on a TV show that comes on every day. We were behind the 8 ball. You know, we got on the show and we were already behind schedule.
The production schedule was such that we had to have at least 15 episodes written before we started rolling cameras. So it was quite a daunting task because we did the pilot in October, we got the go-ahead in November, and we had to be rolling cameras by February. So it was a really fast process. I didn't go home for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
Our show aired 6 days a week. We were Monday through Friday and Saturday mornings, so it was pretty crazy the amount of episodes that we had to get done in such a short amount of time.
I watch the show now, and I can't even tell you, I don't remember episodes. Like, I watch it, and I'm like, oh, when was that? You know, it's 300-something episodes later.
First of all, we were shooting an impossible schedule. We were trying to do 4 episodes a week and shooting 4 episodes simultaneously. The idea was to be as efficient as possible.
We would do everything we could on one set for 4 episodes and then move to another set, and then we would go out on location.
We kind of lost track of which episode we were shooting. Wait a second, what am I doing in this scene, and who am I supposed to be talking to? And
who are we fighting in this episode? What are we doing?
It was a lot of trying to figure it out because we would cross scenes. You know, sometimes they would have a camera and we'd change wardrobe and come back and do. They just didn't want to turn the camera around, so we'd change wardrobe and doing the same scene. It was crazy.
You would just get in. I would learn my lines in the makeup chair, and I would just do it. And a lot of times I didn't know what it was until I got to ADR. Then I'd go, oh, that went with that? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. You just knew that you were going to go. There was going to be a problem. You were going to have to fight some putties. Then you would morph, and then it would all come together, and you'd be at the juice bar, and you'd be happy.
We better contact the others to see if they're okay.
First thing I remember is that we had to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to be on set at 5:30 for makeup, which I don't remember when I had been up that early.
I would go to bed at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, because I knew I'd have to be up at 5 a.m. And I remember at one point I would wake up without an alarm clock. It was like your body just was trained to do it.
The girls had to be there a little earlier because they had hair and makeup. And sometimes, the guys were able to come in later.
I'd look at the call sheet and see, okay, Tommy, in at 4 o'clock in the morning. Amy, a girl, in at 5 o'clock in the morning. So my call times were always earlier because they had a blow dry, they had a flat iron it. It got to the point where on the second movie, if you look at my hair, it's like curly, and I just got to a point where I was like, I don't want to go in at 4 o'clock in the morning anymore. Just throw some powder on and let's go.
You get used to it eventually, just like people working graveyard shift eventually somehow like become the zombie that they need to be to pull it off.
We had 2 units. We had first and second unit. So first unit was all the straight scenes.
And then we were sent instantly to second unit, which was all MOS, the mid-out sound. We would go over there and do the fight scenes, and then after that, we were sent to ADR for the audio-digital replacement.
Anytime you see us with helmets on, it was ADR.
Like a lot of people didn't realize when we were outside shooting on location, there'd be a plane or there'd be wind or so we'd end up having to do everything. You'd have to voice over everything.
We spent a lot of time in the ADR room. Scott paged her, who became our best friend. He was the director of all the ADR. And we became very quick and very good at it. Had to jam those things out. A lot of ha, 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 a lot of those kind of sounds.
One of the nice things about using footage that you have to dub is that it allows you to fix any story problems that may come up in the editing. And very often, when you edit a show and the shots don't quite line up or the story suddenly has a hole, well, this gave us an opportunity to fill it. So that's part of what I did once we really were underway is I had a small team of ADR writers who would come in and we'd make subtle changes to the script in order to kind of smooth the stories out and then dub the monsters and Rita and all the Rangers once they were in costume.
I still can't believe this. I really am the Pink Ranger.
Hey, what's with the hands? I'm over here.
We're gonna close your mouth permanently, aren't we, guys?
There was also quite a bit of stage work. Every episode, there would be probably half of it took place on stage. And shooting on stage is always, once you understand where things are, so shooting on stage is a lot of fun. That's where you get to be the most inventive, I think.
Some directors were really quick and they they just worked really efficiently. They kind of knew the beast that was Power Rangers.
Terry Winkless is the one that really comes to mind. Just a giving director, and they brought him back numerous times, and so obviously that speaks for his abilities and his reputation in itself.
Jon Stewart was great. I mean, great director, easygoing. I told you before, didn't have that sense of urgency. We got to make time. We got, got to get our lines down. So he was always laid back. Even if we didn't make the day, which we always made our day, but even if we didn't, there wasn't the pressure coming.
As you are aware, the Green Ranger's power was completely decimated by his last few battles. Alpha and I felt it was time to create an even more powerful Ranger to combat Lord Zed and his diabolical evil. To that end, a candidate was selected, and a new Power Ranger was created.
We had fun. We just, being together and going through the entire process was an amazing learning experience.
I don't think a lot of people understand everything that does go into a TV show and what really makes it tick and how many people really help get it up off the ground, all the writers and the producers and the different directors and the first assistant directors, and I mean, the list goes on and on.
Any of us that have been at any job for more than 2 years, if we haven't stopped to ask ourselves, what's in that box over there? What does that thing do? I've been working here for 2 years. I'm kind of bored. Like, what's that thing? What's this like? Hey, what's this do? Hello? Like, that's... And having a crew that would be cool and say, oh, that's a boom mic, or that's a Kino Flow, that's a 12K for now.
We came from Saban Entertainment. They work our actors, but I tell you what, we know ins and out of behind the scenes and in front of the cameras. We weren't just actors that we just stood on the mark, say our lines. I mean, we're talking camera angles. We were in everything.
That process ended with me going to Ronnie Hadar and saying, so, would you let me direct one of these? And he was like, no. I was like, oh, man. And he said, go shoot something. And then if it's good, we'll show it to Jonathan. We'll give you a chance. So I went out and shot a small film, like the 11-minute little, cops and robbers thing with Narvi. and a bunch of crew members from Power Rangers. And I showed it to him, and he was like, yeah, awesome, you can direct.
Billy, can you contact Zordon for us?
You know we should only use the communicator for an emergency.
Come on, Billy.
Come on, Billy. Come on.
All right, all right.
I've never seen a show in the course of my career be such a phenomenon than the Power Rangers.
We had no idea that the Power Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers show, was going to explode in the fashion that it did. We were shooting in June and July and August, and it didn't air until September, right after Labor Day, and it was huge instantly.
Something that everyone expected was going to fail in a fiery wreck very quickly. Oh yeah, we thought the ratings would start here, and then it would kind of somewhere down below where the camera would end.
It's not just a hit, it's a mega hit. And each week it grows exponentially. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was phenomenal.
Here's the thing. For those of us who were Gen Xers, we probably remember Voltron, which was an animated series that came after the Transformers, where, you know, big giant robot animals converge and made a big giant robot person. And that was about the coolest thing in the world. So to actually have a live action version of that come along the next generation was actually a little bit exciting even for the Rangers. When we first saw that, we went, oh, I see it now. And of course, that was also the same time that you had Saved by the Bell and the kind of tween daytime sitcom sort of that were coming up. And so we kind of combined the two worlds, the sci-fi, anime, and the sort of, you know, hip teenagers in their high school setting. So in some ways, it was kind of grabbing both audiences, or at least trying to. And I think therein lies its success.
At the beginning, I must admit, we were hanging on to, you know, a train that was running harder and faster than we could have imagined.
When the first episodes, got the first episodes out of the can, I got them to give me a copy of it, and my daughter's school happened to have show and tell. So I thought this would be a nice opportunity. They asked me to come in and talk to the kids, and she was like 7 years old. She was like in third grade, something like that. And they asked me to talk to the kids about how a television show was made. So I brought a copy of episode 13, the Pineapple Monster episode, because that was the first one we actually completed. And I explained how a show was made, and then I showed it to them.
These pathetic power pups are mine! Now to make cardboard out of the lot of you. Don't worry, it won't hurt a bit, but it might hurt a lot.
This is a room of loud 7-year-old kids, and suddenly they were silent, staring, mouth agape, watching this show. And then when the show went to its little commercial, there's like a 2-minute commercial, you know, blackout that we put in it. They're talking and talking and talking, and the show comes back on, and they are silent. This was kind of I was a little stunned. When I told this to Chaim, he wasn't surprised at all, so, you know, he's the visionary here. But the next day, I got thank you notes from this school. And these kids, after one viewing, knew the names of all the Rangers, their colors, their dinosaurs, some of the catchphrases we threw in there, because they incorporated these in the thank you notes. So that's when I started to suspect that maybe we were onto something here. I always enjoyed the show, and I thought we would do okay, but that was the first indication to me that perhaps this might be a hit.
So a lot of our efforts in the early part were geared towards working with Fox Kids and publicity, really, working with the press.
We did a lot of things. I'm gonna tell you, I saw probably more states and more countries than I'm ever gonna see. I remember traveling to other countries and other states, and I'm thinking, oh, we're in another country. They don't know Power Rangers. And all of a sudden, they're speaking different languages. Oh, you Tommy, that's the only thing I can understand.
We did do mall tours, which was interesting in its own right. You know, just seeing thousands of people lined up along the perimeters of malls, just waiting to see you.
If you get all your friends not to do drugs, stick together, stay as a group, and all those other people who do drugs, forget about them.
We got to do the hand and footprint outside of Grauman's Theater.
We would go on like TV shows, and I remember at Kathleen Regis' show, I'd have to break these bricks live on a show.
I have footage where I like sit there and I go, I'm being interviewed by Katie Couric. Oh my God.
I knew that we had finally made it into like an icon of culture when one night I was watching the David Letterman show, and a joke about Tommy the Green Ranger showed up in his top 10 list.
I was watching some promotions from Israel. They said, you have to do a commercial, part of publicity. Yeah, no problem. What do you want me to do? You know, McDonald's commercials, whatever it is. Yeah, you just need to say that, you know, you're from Power Rangers and all this other stuff, and that's pretty much it. It's for Israel. Oh, okay. For Hebrew channel. Oh, okay, that's great. All right, ready to roll? Because I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to go. And they said, yeah, you got to do it in Hebrew. And I went, Hebrew? Oh, no. I got like 10 minutes to do this, so I had him put cue cards, and I had to say, Ni, Tommy, Harangel, Haravana, Tim Sofim, Roots, Hayradim, Roots, Shesh, Yus, Haradim. I didn't know what I was saying, but they told me what it was, but I had to spell it like ni, like ni. You know, I spelled it all my ways, and I got 10 minutes to do that. That's the kind of crazy publicity that we were expected to do.
We also realized that whenever we took a costumed ranger into public, the reaction was remarkable. There was something about these life-size heroes in full costume, covered head to toe, in the helmets and in those bright colors that had an impact beyond a typical costume character.
We had no idea how big the show would be, and it was most clearly shown to me as I was trying to drive through Hollywood one day, and the Power Rangers were going to appear at Universal Studios.
We put together an appearance of the actual cast, the actors, for a meet and greet at Universal Studios.
The idea was that we were going to have a press show where the Rangers were going to come out, they were going to do a few little moves, take off their helmets, because that was another thing that we had to connect the guys in the spandex with the actual Rangers.
And we were being positioned for a meet and greet event in a small stage in one of the theme park areas where they would do kids' entertainment.
So we wrote a little piece that they were going to come in, do a few things, and then go up there with the DARE mascot and announce that they were ambassadors and just do a little presentation. It wasn't really a show as much as was as a kind of an enhanced press conference.
Halfway through our rehearsal session of figuring out how this was all going to work, we got a phone call from one of the Universal people got a phone call from their front office saying they're getting an unusually heavy volume of phone calls asking questions about the Ranger appearance.
And they basically said they had already had 25,000 phone calls and requests for tickets, and that we needed to move the show. And it's the next day.
And they moved us to the Universal Amphitheater. Now, the Universal Amphitheater holds about 6,000 people.
When I arrived at 5 o'clock in the morning, there was already about 500 or 600 people in line to get in the park.
By the time the park opened, there was over 10,000 people lined up in front of the theme park to get in. And by noon that day, they had to close the theme park because they were over capacity, which had never happened before for Universal Studios.
Our first show was for the press. And there was a little press breakfast, so we had to walk the Rangers across to the Victoria Station restaurant that was there. And we literally had to do the Beatles run. There was so many people there, it was amazing. I mean, it was thousands and thousands. And the minute they saw the Rangers, they're screaming, and we're having to grab them and run them through the crowd and get them over there.
But then it got even crazier. Because the park was now closed and people kept coming, the California Highway Patrol actually closed the freeway off-ramps near the theme park to avoid traffic congestion in the area. And that led to this crazy traffic jam that took on Los Angeles on a Saturday and created a 10-mile backup from Hollywood to downtown LA.
50,000 people showed up. We had to turn away 20 of them. We ended up with 6 shows all day, 6,500 people each. People were waiting 4 or 5 hours in line. It was one of the most amazing days of my career to actually physically see the effect of a show that I'd worked on people.
Red Ranger is the strongest. The Black Ranger has the most power. No way! The Blue Ranger is the coolest. I hear that the Pink and Yellow Ranger are the best.
I'll let you guys in on a little secret. They're all totally awesome.
The Power Rangers!
Looking back on the 20 years it's been since I first landed that role of Billy, the Blue Power Ranger, and being involved with Power Rangers.
20 years? How does that work? I mean, I'm only 25. That's so weird. I don't know how that works.
Being a part of the Power Ranger legacy is truly an honor. I cannot believe that it's been 20 years.
I've traveled the world and been recognized everywhere from Dominican Republic to Romania to Mexico.
I was there on the show almost 2 years. I did 80 episodes and I did a movie, and that's insane. People don't do that in their careers, you know, on a regular show.
Everything I got out of that show made me realize that no matter what, there's always people watching. And what you do makes a difference.
You should embrace the fact that it's a huge chunk of our youths. You know, look at all these wonderful friends I have from there. Look at the training that I got from that. You know, look how at an early age, for a person that was only good at acting, it was the only thing I was good at in my life. And that was the only thing that I knew I could do in this world. This is something that validated me, that helped me understand how to put theory into practice. And it's something that has carried me through my entire life. And it's helped me in so many ways.
To get to go to work every day and be on a set and memorize a script and work with other actors and work with a camera and work with sound people and props people and makeup and wardrobe, it's all very magical to me. So I didn't care how many hours I was there. I didn't care how many days a week I was there.
We had a lot of fun. There was just days where we're just so focused, you know, hitting our marks, hitting our line, getting our light down. Then other days where we're just, you know, goofy, happy, you know, director saying, all right, guys, we got a couple more minutes to make this so, you know, before the sun goes down.
That breeds camaraderie. You know, those moments together when you're freezing in some costume or you're bobbing in a lake at 4:30 in the morning. You know, because that's what was in the script, and the weather was cold. Sorry, you know.
Well, looking back, 20 years later, my participation in the Power Rangers is it's one of the highlights of my life.
How many people can say that they were a part of a television show that was one of the most successful television shows in the history of television, period?
I was given an extraordinary opportunity to help invent a show from the blank page on, and to ride it all the way until it was a huge hit.
The most important thing to me is that it has allowed me to release my creative juices.
One of the more interesting and exciting aspects of working on this show for so long has been the opportunity to work closely with Haim Saban.
He's created something that has changed the course of television to the point where it's going to continue for, I hope, another 20 years.
Everybody always has some fantasy about being a superhero, and I can legitimately say I was a superhero.
Somebody that made a positive change in their life.
The culture of kids who watched Power Rangers are the kids, not kids anymore, who are fighting our wars right now. I've had more than one of them come to me at conventions and stuff and say they were inspired by Power Rangers, not to go fight, but to live a life of honor.